I'll call the meeting officially to order. Maria, do you want to lead the pledge in the room?
Oh my goodness, yes, thank you, sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Good morning. So we'll just do a quick roll call. Same format as last time. We'll try to keep orderly through the agenda. So I'll open up each agenda topic, have the presenter or leader of the topic go, and then we'll have questions as we did before. But if we could just go around the room first, and Maria, just announce who's there.
Sure, Maria Capriola, Town Manager.
Mark Critch, Security Director for Simsbury Public Schools.
That's it?
All of us.
That's it.
That's all
Sorry,
of us.
everybody else is by
Sorry, I still can't see you guys on TV. Okay. Obviously, this is Sean Askham, Board of Selectmen, Chair of Public Safety. And then we go around. We heard Kevin before. Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin Kowalski, Emergency Management.
Michael Berry, Emergency Management.
Jennifer Kirkianis, Farmington Valley Health District.
Karen Stewart, Simsbury Ambulance.
Jim Baldwin, Simsbury Fire.
Neil Sullivan, Simsbury Public Schools.
Gary Wilcox, Simsbury Fire District.
Sarah Nielsen, Simsbury Main Street Partnership.
Nick Bolter, Police Department.
Kristen Formanak, Social Services.
Got it, Chief. Good. I had the Chief there as well. Anyone else?
Nancy Karen Hamberlin. Okay.
All righty.
This is Jim Baldwin. If I could suggest, if you actually maybe could actually do a roll call and just have people indicate that they're present.
It's a great idea, except I don't have the list. I believe I heard Farmington Valley Health District, Town Manager, Emergency Management, Police, Ambulance, Fire, Board of Ed, Tom Roy, Public Works.
Correct.
There we go. And then Social Services, I heard Kristen.
Yes.
And then we had Nancy as well. And we had Sarah.
Yes.
I believe we have everyone from the agenda.
Just Eversource, was Mark Massaro there, Sean?
Yes, I'm on the line.
There we go. Sorry, Mark.
That's all right, thank you.
All right, we'll start off with the topic of the hour, Farmington Valley Health. Jennifer?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Our cases are escalating in the valley. As you know, we are limited by those confirmed lab cases that are reported through our electronic disease reporting system. For every confirmed lab case that we have, it's estimated that we have an additional 100 to 1,000, and I know that's a big difference, but an additional 100 to 1,000 additional unconfirmed or not tested cases in our communities. So we issued yesterday some new messaging. We pushed it out to all of the towns. We're asking that you post it. That speaks to the fact that because of the rapid escalation, we need to move to a model that assumes that anyone suffering from fever, cough, or difficulty breathing actually has COVID-19. And there's a chart that describes what people specifically need to do if they have fever, cough, difficulty breathing, if they've had contact, or they have no symptoms. So if you've not received this, let me know, and we'll get it to you so you can send it out via your channels. This is a chart for the general public. We do know that there have been some exceptions made for first responders, and I've had conversations directly with some of our first responders regarding that. So again, if there's any confusion about that, please call and let me know. In addition to that messaging, the Farmington Valley Health District continues to do contact tracing for our lab-confirmed cases. And what this means is for lab-confirmed cases that are at home and not hospitalized, they are on isolation. We provide specific guidance to them about how they can keep their family members safe while they're in isolation, and their family members are under quarantine, so they have to stay home, stay put for the 14 days. We'll do this for as long as we have the staff capacity to do that, but we probably will exceed our capacity in the next few days, and that is why the chart and the messaging that we put out is so critical. The other message that we're pushing out this week is around return travelers from New York City, just asking them if they've returned from New York City in the last 14 days to try to quarantine themselves, monitor their symptoms. We know that New York City 2 days ago, the new cases in New York City represented 60% of all of the new cases in the country. So that is, it's really spreading like wildfire in New York City. Our enforcement team or our food team has been out in the field. Our establishments that are currently open are really doing a bang-up job in terms of, for the most part, the social distancing, but we're circling back, obviously, during this experience. We don't want a foodborne outbreak because that would be really taxing on us. So we're focusing on both the food safety elements as well as social distancing strategies within all of those food establishments and grocery stores. And they have been incredibly wonderful and appreciative, and they're all really trying to do the right things. We are also working very closely with our long-term care, our assisted living facilities. We continue to field questions from them. They have a population that not only is at greater risk from serious consequences, but they also have a population that also experiences things like aspiration pneumonia, and so working with them to just ensure that they're treating all of this and getting testing as quickly as possible so that we can protect that population as well as that workforce. We do have daycares that are still open, and we're in regular communication with them. We've actually been asked, I think all local health departments have been asked by the Department of Early Childhood Education about which child care facilities are open, what strategies we've put in place, et cetera. So that's an ongoing area of focus for us. So I think with that, I will end my report and look forward to hearing from others.
Thank you, Jennifer. Do we have questions? Okay. Maria, we'll move on to the town manager side.
Great. Thank you, Sean. So all of our buildings are now officially closed to the public. Our staff are working modified work schedules. So for Town Hall, Eno Memorial Hall, the library, and the Simsbury Farms Administration Building, most of the staff that are assigned to those buildings are now working remotely. We do have staff rotating in on a daily basis, about one person per department, to take care of those tasks that do require a physical presence in the building. Unfortunately, there are certain tasks that we just are not able to do remotely. So we do have folks checking in on a daily basis. As soon as their tasks are complete, they then go home and finish their hours working remotely for the day. We have also implemented alternate work schedules for our crews in the Department of Public Works. So that is our highway crew, our facilities crew, and our sewer crew, and have also implemented social distancing practices when they are reporting to work. For our parks and golf crews, we have also done modified schedules for them in that they're reporting to different work locations, and they're essentially working independently or in teams of two. With the teams of two, also they have social distancing practices that they're using. So at this point, the majority of our workforce has some form of either, again, remote working or modified work schedule or modified work practices, just to try to keep folks as healthy and safe as long as possible, while we're also making sure that our essential services continue and are maintained. We've also closed a number of our recreation facilities. That was occurring over a period of days, starting late last week and completed on Monday. So at this point, our playgrounds are closed, our tennis courts are closed, our paddle tennis courts are closed, our trails and parks for passive recreation are still open. Let's see. At this time, based on a recent executive order from the governor, our public meetings are now closed to the public through at least April 22nd. So we are still encouraging non-essential committees to not meet, meaning that if they don't have a regulatory function and there wasn't pressing business, for those groups to continue to cancel their meetings. And then with the help of staff and SCTV, we are pulling together resources to broadcast the necessary meetings live. There are a number of other requirements that we need to do to continue to do that. We also took advantage on Monday evening of the governor's executive order to allow us to extend our budget timeframes under our charter by 30 days. So we, again, passed that resolution on Monday. We are taking advantage of that. A more recent executive order from the governor has also said that we cannot hold a public hearing that's open to the public until at least April 23rd or later. There's a possibility that may get extended. We also cannot hold a referendum until April 23rd or later, which may also get extended. In the event that does happen, where that date continues to get pushed out, the Board of Selectmen would have the legislative authority to grant the Board of Finance the ability to adopt a budget without a referendum. So that is sort of our worst case scenario fallback plan in terms of making sure that we have a budget in place for fiscal 2021 in order to send out our tax bills to our property owners in a timely manner. So that is something, again, that will be evolving throughout April and May.
Thank you, Maria. Two questions. One, I had conflicting understanding that one, the golf course was closed, and now two, the golf course is open. Can you clarify that?
Sure. So for right now, the golf course remains open. They have, again, implemented pretty significant modified work practices. The Professional Golf Association has been working with the governor's office and DECD in terms of what those practices should be. We've also consulted with Jennifer a number of times just to ensure that our practices that we've implemented, the modified practices, are minimizing, risk and keeping that risk low. So essentially, people are golfing independently. And I'm not a golfer, and I wish Tom Tybrisky was on the call, but in terms of things like the rakes and the flagpoles being removed, and again, they've taken a number of measures to really minimize risk. But at this time, the golf course is open.
Okay. It just seems contradictory to the please stay home message. So.
Well, this is Jennifer. I mean, people need to be able to kind of get outside. It's the social distancing, keep the 6 feet that we need to emphasize. I think based on what I've heard the golf course is doing, have little or no reservation about people getting out there independently and golfing. It doesn't present a public health risk.
No, just from an overall messaging standpoint, the governor called us all personally and asked us to stay home but for a walk, and it just seems counter to that overall message, but I understand. As far as the budgetary side goes, this just so this group knows, we did pass the Board of Selectmen budget and move it on to the Board of Finance pretty much as presented previously, with just some changes and moving around of how we are funding items. But the deputy chief for the police department and the lieutenant position are in the parks position is in, as are others at this point. So just wanted to keep folks in the loop there. And there are no reductions in services or changes otherwise that would impact this group or anything from a public safety standpoint. In fact, going the other way and improving. Additional questions or comments for Maria? All right. Thank you much, Maria. Appreciate you keeping everything going.
Thank you.
Emergency management, Kevin and Mike.
Yeah, I'll let Mike start off with the informational side of the house.
Good morning, everyone. Just want to give you an update. There's not much going on our end, much past what we talked about yesterday. The IAP, we're stretching it out to a period of a 1 week IAP at this time until we start seeing a ramp up of cases and action that need to be taken. So the IAP has been distributed for the week. Make sure you do fill out the ICS 214 forms so we can start tracking what we need to get reimbursement. We talked to Demas yesterday, and Demas says make sure we track everything that's related to any kind of COVID response that you're doing, personnel, commodities, fuel, anything that you're using directly involved with the COVID response. Make sure you track that because that's all going to be eligible for reimbursement. As for WBOC, I am monitoring it and keeping an eye on it. There's not much action in our area in Region 3. However, as you can see by what's happening on the maps, Fairfield County is really ramping up, and the virus has spread to the eastern end of the state. So we can see in the next couple of days a large ramp up of the cases and the actions that are going to need to be taken. So that's what I've got on for my end. Kevin, you can take over.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And quickly, actually, overall, emergency calls are down, quite frankly, substantially, which is a good thing. We are still prioritizing the same way as we have in the past, and that is, first of all, our first responders to protect them and make sure they have adequate sources that we can get. We were able to get some masks here locally and get that processed. We did get a call, or actually an email yesterday from Health Department Region 2, and Jennifer, maybe you can help me on that, asking for how many personal protective equipment we need. And this was kind of out of the blue. I'm not sure who these people are for that.
I'm not aware of it. The only thing I'm aware of is through CROG, there was a distribution of both face masks and expired N95s from the state supply, and that's been taking place within Region 3 for the last, I think, couple days.
Yep, and we did take advantage of that, so thanks. But, yeah, this one, it was an email that came to Jim, and maybe Jim can, go over what it actually said, but it was kind of a strange one, and, I mean, we're going to fill it out and send it back, so I don't know if it's worth anything or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to talk with me offline, I'd just be interested in who pushed it out. Was it ESF8, Region ESF8 in Region 2, or somebody else? Okay.
Jennifer, this is Jim. I will forward you that email.
Okay, great. Thank you.
There is a little bit of coordination. There's a coordination effort that's underway right now in the town that is going to assist EMS, and I know Karen will probably speak a little bit about that when it comes to her, where the fire department and the police and fire and the ambulance are all coordinating efforts in the event that there's a reduction in workforce due to exposure. So there is a plan working on that, and that's underway, and of course equipment being gathered up. We also are trying to coordinate with Sarah on any business information. Again, that's, having actually the second item in our priority list is the seniors, and we've been in contact with those folks in the centers to make sure that they have their needs. They're in the same boat as we are, essentially, and that's the masks and things of that nature that are needed. But once that infusion happens, I'm hoping that we'll be able to secure that equipment. And then the third thing is obviously is the business community. That's a huge portion of this thing right after the health, and that is to make sure that the businesses stay healthy. So we're trying to work and see what we can do and assist Sarah and the chamber on any way we can from this point forward. I know that there's a lot of to-go work going on. There's a lot of emergency services or essential services going on with shopping, etc. So that's a positive thing, and hopefully things will get back to normal with the business side of the house. I know that the funds were released or voted on apparently last night. So, and she just put out another email to small businesses for some loans. So hopefully that's going very well for her, and I'm sure she'll report on that. We have picked up 5 more volunteers for the radio WSIM to do any announcing. They are being trained this week. It'll take a bit to get them up and going, but we're anticipating within another week we'll get it. So we do need content. So if anyone has content to put out, please email myself or the radio station email. So you get that information to us, we'll put it out over the air. We haven't been able to get too much content every day, but we'd like to keep it timely as possible. And that's really it. I'll take any questions.
Kevin, thank you. Appreciate that. I think our first selectman was a former radio personality, so maybe we can get him up there. Other questions for Kevin and Mike? All right, thank you, guys. Chief, Police Department?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Real quick, unless there's some questions, some of our staff, it's the non-sworn staff, are working remotely and have been all week. We do have some rotation of a select few of our sworn personnel. We do have a plan that we can implement as soon as we feel the need is there to have an additional 6 sworn members working remotely. To preserve them in case our numbers in the membership aren't able to work. Like Kevin had said, the call for services are down. That's been consistent over the last week and a half. That's a good thing. Staffing overall is in good health and doing well right now. And just like everybody else's, equipment is a bit of a concern. We do have some masks, but we're definitely willing to accept some more. We were able to locate some N95s yesterday from a company in Wethersfield that had been giving those out to first responders. But we are in need of some gowns. So if anybody has any ideas on medical grade gowns, we probably could use about 30 or 40 of those.
All right, Chief, thank you for that. Any questions? All right, ambulance, Karen.
Good morning, everybody. I can echo everybody's other comments that the call volume has definitely been down, which is, again, good for the general population, but it concerns me that we're going to escalate rather quickly since the confirmed cases are definitely growing. So that's happening. We're definitely planning on upping our staff as best we can. We have been talking with Ken, and I've not reached out to Granby yet, but Ken approached me to see if there was a way that we could consolidate some of our staffing, and which triggered my thoughts to approach the fire department, which, as Kevin had said earlier, that we're trying to work something out. If we get to the point where I lose staff due to exposure, that the fire department might be able to help us out with the transports of patients. In the meantime, we're just trying to stock up on supplies. I will say I resurrected the defective N95 mask, so I do have a pretty good stock that I'm happy to share and to give out. I did give some to the VNA, and there's obviously a local group that's sewing these cloth masks that will help extend the life of the N95 masks, which has been extremely useful and just absolutely amazing, and how many people are coming forward to try to help us out. Other than that, I'm doing hunting down gowns and masks and whatever I can find. We got a couple loads of gloves, so both chiefs, if you guys need gloves, I do have a stockpile of those that I'm willing to share. But otherwise, I feel like I'm just waiting for the other foot to drop. And that's really about it from us, unless anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I appreciate that update and the willingness to share with the other departments.
Oh, absolutely.
Chief Baldus, Fire.
Yeah, hi, good morning. We are, yes, our volunteers are basically home and ready. Again, as alluded to, Our call volume continues to be very, very light. Thank goodness. We have a great, safe community. The volunteers are certainly continuing to practice their social distancing, staying away from the fire stations unless the call obviously comes in. And for general apparatus, checks and maintenance, just to make sure all of our equipment's ready. The one thing that we have done is certainly taken into account our responses to events, making sure that there's a heightened awareness of the need for that continued social distancing, protecting themselves, especially if they do have to enter into a building for an investigation, making sure that we're removing people from the building, bring them outside, using the same protocols that all the emergency services are using, and to make sure that if we do have to enter an area that would be considered a high risk, that we're taking the necessary precautions with personal protective equipment. As Karen, Kevin, and others mentioned, we are ramping up for the potential of the fire department personnel to provide that EMS support. Certainly if PD and EMS either are overwhelmed or have depleted resources. So we, in fact, are moving very quickly to get that in place so we can provide additional assistance in an area that we haven't had to do in the past, but certainly ramping up with those trained and certified EMR and EMT people. One major issue, which I think is a common thread, continues to be personal protective equipment. We are, at a bare minimum, thankfully, with the help of Karen and SBAA and others. We do have some limited equipment. Unfortunately, much of it is expired and dry rotted in some cases, making modifications as we can. But certainly the area of eye shield protection, gowns, definitely is an issue. We seem to be in really good shape with hand protection with nitrile gloves, but certainly the other areas are very much in need. We continue to put requests out when we get the requests from the state level, but what we seem to be getting seems to be old stuff and certainly questionable in terms of some of its abilities to actually provide adequate protection.
All right. Questions for Chief? All right. Appreciate all the coordination the three first responding units are working on there. Neil and Mark, Board of Education.
Yeah. As you probably heard, the governor has established that schools will not return to session any earlier than April 20th. And then proceeded to give a radio interview in which he said that he likely would or foresaw that we would not go back at all, although that's certainly not official yet. So as I said, reported last week, we were getting our distance learning plan up and running. That started on Monday. Early feedback has been very strong in terms of people feeling it's useful learning. That's, we're just 4 days into it, but the feedback has been good. And that obviously has engaged a whole large portion of the organization in continued work and continued learning. We're now focusing on kind of the non-classroom teachers in the organization to engage them in further support for families, including a lot of reach out from people like school nurses to more medically fragile students and their parents, school counselors and social workers, and just a lot of outreach to families through those sorts of supports in our school. The grab and go meals for lunch and breakfast continue, centralized at Simsbury High School. Last week I reported that our first day had about 50, and we've increased that each of the other 2 times we've done it. On Monday we had about 75, and yesterday a little over 100. So we expect to see those numbers continue to go up as people continue to participate and tell others that it's happening. The distribution of Chromebooks for families that needed them, in some case just needing a device, in other cases because so many people are working from home, needing extra devices for the family. Also happened at Simsbury High School yesterday, and over 200 devices were distributed out into the community, and that included a number of our open choice students from Hartford. Other than that, I would say we continue with cleaning in the buildings, although we followed the lead of Public Works, and we have put our custodial and maintenance crew on staggered schedules. Thank you to Tom Roy for sending us the model of how they were working that. And then lastly, we have made some donations of personal protective equipment, and Mark Kritz has been organizing and dropping things off. We gave some to the police, some to the volunteer ambulance, I believe, and then a request came from a nurse at Hartford Hospital, and we brought. Mark, why don't you speak to that?
Okay. So we did drop off some masks and gloves to the police department, as well as to the Ambulance Association. I have particulars on that if people need them, but whatever we have, we've taken out of our stock, and we really have narrowed what we have available now at the school. We have gone out to the Hartford Hospital nurse who was looking for stuff, and I personally dropped off stuff there yesterday. So between the Ambulance Association, the police department, and the hospitals, we've pretty much given out just about everything that we have.
Thank you guys for doing that. I really appreciate it.
You bet, Karen.
That's outstanding. Thank you, guys. Neil, is there any collaboration, or does it make sense to have any collaboration with other districts? Because anecdotally and perhaps from a direct family experience, other districts aren't nearly as prepared or well executing as we are. Or are we just staffed at this point to focus inward?
Yeah, I think certainly there are networks of like assistant superintendents who are leading this. I know that they're communicating. And as we briefly mentioned last week, the trickiest part is providing some special education support. And I know that Sue Lemke and they have a regular meeting with the Farmington Valley special ed directors to talk about how they're moving forward to try to provide support. And we have collaborated on a plan with them in terms of how all the districts are going to make use of the paraprofessional force that we all have. So the special ed teachers are up and running, and on tomorrow I'm participating in a conference call with Sue and the leader of the para union to talk about roles and responsibilities for the paraprofessionals. So I think we're getting there, and I think the collaboration in certain areas with other valley towns is pretty good.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. I could tell everyone, and I'm sure many of you are in the same boat from personal experience. Having a 4-year-old in the house while trying to manage a job and everything else is presenting a new life challenge for everybody. So keeping the little ones occupied and engaged and off the internet and learning is a never-ending battle. All right, questions for Board of Ed. Thank you guys for all that you're doing. Mr. Roy, Public Works.
Oh, good morning. I think similar to so many of us, we're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, as Karen said. Right now in the buildings, especially in the PD, we're disinfecting the building 2 and 3 times a day, trying to make sure that the staff that is working is as safe as possible. We've been supporting social services with some of the work at Eno and making sure that the donation bin is brought in and brought out each day. As referenced earlier by Maria and Neil, we've split our crew so that we only have half the workforce on any given day to minimize the risk of exposure. It also allows them to practice social distancing a little bit better. Our highway department in particular is going to be continuing some of their normal maintenance duties, but they're effectively ready to respond. So I think to any of the other groups out there, if you need labor, if you need, barricades, if we need to start setting up, even, we offered, I think Kevin reached out to Mark Kritz yesterday, that if you need help with the food drop-off or anything, logistics, certainly the crew is here to help. And similar to that end, I think you guys have come up with a good plan for the fire department to assist the ambulance with transports. But if that system starts to look like it's going to get taxed, we have a number of employees that I'm sure would be willing to help out with that as well.
Appreciate that, Tom. Thank you. Questions for Tom? All right, Kristen, social services, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
As you've already heard, we are working remotely. Our staff had its last day at Eno on Monday, and my staff is reporting to work remotely. We've been able to still answer our phone messages and our emails. We also are staggering staff into the building on a daily basis to address items that need to be done there. We're continuing to provide bags of food and toiletries and a gift card to our clients that are struggling with food insecurity right now. That's being done by appointment only. And we also, on Wednesday, we were still able to distribute our hot lunch to our seniors via curbside pickup. As you heard from Tom, his crew's been really essential in helping us to get our tasks done. We're still collecting donations. We have a cart on the vestibule of Eno for that. And his team's been really great in helping us outside as well so that we can continue to distribute our food items. We're ready to help. We are ready to, do outreach to our folks. We are also coming up with some creative ways to help engage our seniors with some online items. And we're also looking into some special projects such as potentially helping to sew those cough masks. And we're looking into some other things as well to help them to get through this. And I think that's about it for us right now. I would also note that our calls are down as well. I think people probably think that we're not responding, but we've all been trying to do a really good job of getting the message out that we are here and we are here for them.
Appreciate that, Kristen. Thank you for you and your staff's work.
You're welcome.
Questions for Kristen? All right. Sarah, you want to give us an update? I know you were working long into the night last night to keep our businesses connected and funded and running. You want to just give an update for the group?
Yeah, so again, just a reminder that we have the latest restaurant list and all of the services that they're providing online and on Facebook. We are in the midst of compiling a list of other open businesses, non-restaurant businesses that are fully open, modified open, and closed. And I'll be sending you a list, Kevin, for the radio. So I've been working on it since 7 when I thought this call was. I released the information to the small businesses last night. The Department of Economic and Community Development has finally done a Connecticut bridge loan. It's a 0% interest loan for up to 3 months of operating expenses or $75,000, the lesser amount. So I'm currently fielding emails and phone calls for information. People want to know about some of the FAQs and what the department is asking for. So I'm fielding all those questions as we speak. In addition, SBA has put out the loan, their loan program, and then local banks are also stepping up. For example, even though we're talking about the business community, I've been in constant contact with Joe Beal. Liberty Bank is putting out a $5,000 unsecured personal loan for their existing customers with 0% interest and deferred payments. So we're trying to get as much information out as possible to help both the business community as well as residents where applicable. And so that's it for now. And then just a reminder I sent Maria, and she can forward to the group, but the Gary Sinise Foundation is doing some sort of funding for PPE, and they're also doing funding should any first responders end up with COVID-19. And I sent Maria and Melissa that information last night as well, that she could forward out to the group. So I'm still working. It's challenging, but yes, I'm on call 24 hours a day right now.
Appreciate that, Sarah. As Kevin noted before, it's critical that we take care of our people and our businesses because we got to keep both going.
Oh, and one more thing. I'm sorry. Some of my businesses, and I'll give an example. Necker's Toyland has successfully petitioned the governor's office to be considered an essential business and stay open. I am coordinating those types of approvals with the chief, Nick Bolter, and also with Maria, so that we know, within the circle, that those businesses, which people might think should be closed, have received approval to stay open.
Yep. And again, as the father of a 4-year-old, that is an essential business because I'm running out of games and ideas to entertain her. So,
agreed.
Mental health is obviously important through all this. All right, questions for Sarah? Appreciate your work there. Nancy from the VNA, I believe you were on.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. First of all, I want to say a special Aaron Stewart and the ambulance company. To date, they're the only person who has assisted us in terms of making a donation, even if it's with expired N95 masks. I will share with you, and I apologize because I find no way to do this without negative, stressed, and frustrated. My staff is in the field. They have more patients they've had in the last month to take care of because hospitals are emptying out. They want us to still do our jobs. The federal government has given us no relief with regard to virtual care, and we are beginning to get referrals for potential patients that are positive that are going to come back to our community. And yet, as a visiting nurse association, we are still not considered on anybody's list for first distribution of PPE. I don't know what to do about that. I've reached out to my legislators. We have reached out to every business we know. My staff are going to be going into and taking care of some of these patients, and they are coming to the valley, and that includes Simsbury. And yet, whenever there's a distribution, despite the fact that we've asked, we're not considered, and I'm not how to handle that, other than to just share with you that it's frustrating and it's barrier because we are going to be taking care of some of these patients soon. Appreciate the support from the ambulance crew. They're just amazing, and we're continuing to work together. We have a number of groups that are making us the cloth masks so that we could try to extend the life of the few that we have. But clearly, I'm going to need more N95 masks because there's no way that it's going to be safe to care for patients without the right equipment, and that's not old and expired. So if any of you have the thought, or any of you know of a distribution that we could get a hold of, it would greatly appreciate you. Otherwise, we are here. We're ready. We're going out. We have also, our state recommended group added signed letters that if my staff are out and about and driving, apparently not having our badge or identified magnets on our car, it has been determined to be enough in some of the other towns. So my staff will have signed letters that support the fact that while they're doing business, they're considered essential personnel. So hopefully there's no problem with any of my staff being out there. They are identifiable, so if there's any concerns, you can feel free to call me.
This is Kevin. If you call me after this meeting, we can talk over some possibilities on equipment. Okay.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I will do so.
Yep.
And this is Karen. I do have another box to bring up to you, by the way. I'll drop it off after the meeting.
Thank you so much, Karen. You guys are amazing.
Well, you're very welcome. Glad to help.
And Nancy,
And
this is
I'm
Nick.
sure, considering the golf course in Neckers is open, we'll let the VNA have a pass on being out.
Yeah, I hope so. Honestly, I'm glad that people can get toys, but right now I have clinical staff that need stuff, and that's how else to say it.
And Nancy, this is Nick from the police department. No, obviously no issues from the police standpoint of your employees being out and about. No worries here.
You know, I just want to share with you too. It is while it isn't probably going to be the case in the Farmington Valley. Some of my colleagues in different parts of the state have already experienced having their staff be out in public, going to patients' homes, and then other people see them. And like they will go to a pharmacy to pick up medicine for patients. People see their car, and they've been verbally accosted, like, you're the reason why this disease is. It's beginning to get a little prickly out there, and I really don't anticipate that where we are, but, you know, frustrations are going to grow as this grows and positive cases grow. So, you know, we'll stay in touch with everybody in the event that we ever have an issue. I'm certainly hoping that that won't be the case.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that that's all happening, but it sounds like there's some opportunities here to help you guys out with what we just heard, and obviously we'll keep in communication.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Appreciate what you all are doing, because it's not lost on obviously on any of this group, all the folks that you're working with out there. Additional updates, additional questions, items we need to discuss as a team. Okay, I won't keep you for this.
John, do we want to schedule another one for next week?
Absolutely, Kevin. You read my mind. I'm going to put it on the calendar. Again, if folks are out doing their jobs and can't come, that's okay. I understand, but I feel it's important we keep having a venue to collaborate. Again, I felt this one has been as equally as effective as the last one, and we'll keep doing this until you guys tell me it's not needed anymore, if that's all right with the group. Ray, does that work for you?
Yeah, should we do April 2nd, next Thursday, same time, 8 a.m.?
8 a.m. seems to be okay for folks. Does that work, generally?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm good.
I think it's a lot better than 7.
Agreed.
I'm a little bit more flexible now that I'm chained to my spare bedroom working at home. So, all right. And again, I owe everybody a substantial makeup on the goodies that usually arrive at these meetings. But I appreciate what everyone's doing out there. And in all seriousness, if there's stuff we can do to support your staff, lunches, food, just thank yous, getting the word out, messages from the selectmen side. We're obviously trying to stay out of the way right now. But if there's things that we can do to support the groups in other ways, please do let us know. I know there's a number of selectmen listening in and on the call as well.
Sean,
all
just
right. With that, go ahead, Maria.
Sorry, just one procedural item. Do you want to approve the minutes by consensus or a formal motion?
Yeah, if folks are okay, we'll approve the minutes by consensus. I believe they were sent out.
Correct.
From the prior meeting?
Yeah, if you need a motion on that, Sean, I'll move that they be accepted into record.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there a second out there?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
No.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for Maria for keeping me on the procedural stuff. All right, everyone. I appreciate what you do. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.